The Barberton Makhonjwa Marathon, now in its third edition, will be held on the 28th of September this year. Now, this race takes place in the UNESCO World Heritage site of Makhonjwa Mountains in Barberton, offering runners breathtaking scenery through the course. For more on this race, we are joined by Jaqueline Khoapa of Bellas Athletics Club. Jaqueline, a very good evening and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, Ntatekwena, and thank you for having me.
Let's talk about this race in its third edition. I mean, it's run in a World Heritage site. Just tell us a little bit of history as to how this race started.
Okay, as a club, which is Bellas Athletics Club, we saw it fit that September, it's not only Heritage Month, it is also Tourism Month. So we saw it fit that what is a better way to unite runners of all over and have them explore, visit, and take part in one of the largest heritage places in the country, which is the Barberton Makhonjwa Mountains. So we came up with this idea of having this race. And it's, as you have mentioned, it started about 3 years ago, and we are having its third edition this year.
And how has it been, particularly as we're talking about the scenery around the Mpumalanga area and the areas around Barberton from Eswatini, the response from general runners who come to participate in what is a beautiful race?
Yes, it is a beautiful race, and truth be told, not only is it beautiful, it's also challenging, because you get to run, especially those that run the 42 kilometers, you get to run two halves. The first half, it's going up and it's a bit tough. And then the second half, it goes very low. Like when it goes low, it goes very low. And then the last 2 kilometers, it's flat. Now, after rolling, now you need to bring in your own, put everything in that you've got to see the finish line.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm happy about what you said about the first part, but we'll talk about that some other time. But generally, what sort of response have you gotten, particularly when we talk about marathons? And now we know that a lot of athletes are starting to the cycle again of qualifying for Comrades, qualifying for Two Oceans. What sort of response do you normally get for this race?
In the past 2 years, we have seen an increase, or rather an incline of about 7.72%. Which is very good since it's a new race. And like you mentioned, it's one of the first qualifiers of not only Comrades Marathon, but also Two Oceans as well. So the number last year increased to about 400 runners, and we are looking into for the 42 kilometers, and we are looking into getting even more. We're challenging every runner to say, if you haven't run the Barberton Makhonjwa Mountain Marathon, you haven't started running yet.
And in terms of elite athletes, do you also find that some of them responding very well to this, or is it just mere mortals like myself who come through and run this race?
Well, we've had the creme de la cremes of running. In the first year, an international won the race, and then in the second position went to a local person who was also a member of the club of Bellas. And then last year as well, we attracted not only Kenyans, we had runners from Uganda, we had runners from our local neighboring nations, which is Eswatini and in Mozambique. And most runners came from KwaZulu-Natal. They were coming for the prize money, because our prize money is very good. As a running club, we're paying very good.
Well, now that you mentioned the prize money, what is it?
First position in the 42 kilometers gets 17,000, and we pay up until position 5. And we pay separately the age categories. And this year, because as a club, we care about our local runners as well. We want to invest more in our local runners. We are saying the first South African to cross the finish line will get an additional 2,500. The second thing is the first Mpumalanga, anywhere from Mpumalanga athlete, will get 2,350. And we are saying the first Ehlanzeni municipality resident out of the 5 districts that we have in Ehlanzeni, anyone who crosses the finish line and it's from the district will get an additional 2,250. Now imagine if you are South African, you are from Mpumalanga, and you are from Ehlanzeni, you get your 17,000 plus the additional monies.
So now, I mean, you spoke about the race being quite tough, but yet scenic. Tell us about it being part of the UNESCO Heritage Site. What makes it a beautiful race, and what can people see en route as they run?
And the 42 kilometers you run in between the mountain. Not only do you run in the mountains, you start at the Bulembu border in Eswatini. So your race ticket will be your passport. You cross to the other side. So in one day, you'll be in 2 countries. You start in Eswatini, you run through the mountains up until you pass your military base in Barberton, up until you get into the town where you get to see the museum, particularly the 10 kilometers. They'll be seeing the museum, the library, and remember that Barberton used to have the stock exchange, which was founded in 1887. So now you get to see the buildings as well. So you get to see all these tourist attraction sites that are in Barberton.
All right, Jaqueline, thank you so much for coming through to speak to us. It does sound like indeed a very challenging race, but of course, as part of the UNESCO Heritage Site, a race that many runners, I'm sure, will respond very well to. Thank you very much for coming through to speak to us.